Hi guys, during this pandemic, with the changing travel protocols and also the changes being made by airlines to their flight schedules, as in the way some of these airlines are like canceling and rebooking people on flights, that's another story. Anyways, with these changes comes many mistakes being made by Nigerian travelers. This particular video aims to do one thing, and that is to inform you and make you aware of the mistakes that Nigerian travelers are making currently so that you don't make them too. What's that saying again about how, not everything you have to learn with experience. Some you have to learn from other people's experience, right? It is cheaper, smarter to do it that way. You might wonder how I am aware of all these mistakes that Nigerians are currently making during this pandemic when it comes to travel. The reason is I recently founded a platform called Travel to Niger, and Travel to Niger is your #1 trusted platform for everything travel for Nigerians. So for the whole Nigerian community globally, this is the place for you, right? So make sure you jump on our Instagram page, follow us, turn on your notifications, and if you have specific questions, feel free to join our private Facebook community page where you can ask any question you would like. If it's your first time seeing my face, I welcome you. I urge you to subscribe and join this incredible community and family here. And of course, don't forget to turn on your notifications so you never miss any of the valuable content that I share on here. So let's get straight to this video. What are the biggest mistakes that Nigerian travelers traveling to Nigeria are making during this pandemic? Number one, some people have been thinking that the COVID tests, the 120-hour window, which the Nigerian government says you must do your PCR test, right? Some of you have been calculating it from the date you received your test result back from the lab. That is not the case. It is actually from the date you test. So even if you do like a test kit at home, the date you put in there that you actually did the swab is the start date, right? So that particular date and time has to be within 120 hours of your trip. Some of you guys, as in I've seen it on the Travel to Niger Facebook page, have made this mistake, and because of that, they were denied boarding, right? So it's important to note that the 120-hour window is from the date you actually test, date and time you test. Number two, doing a COVID test, right, that isn't PCR or that does not have PCR written on the results. This is really important because without a negative COVID PCR test, you would not be allowed to board a flight to Nigeria. That's fact, right? And I'm going to share with you an experience that one of our community members on Facebook had. She shares, this is my first post in the group, just share my experience. My mom was refused boarding by Delta yesterday because her COVID test did not specifically mention PCR. So make sure your doctor has specified that on your script. She actually goes on to share what the test result showed, and I'm going to show you guys so you guys can see it here in case you have a similar test result. And she also shares a conversation with the lab, the doctor, where he says your COVID test, 19 test was up to PCR test and it was negative. Your test was definitely a PCR test. So even though they wrote that after, it's not valid. It has to be written on your test itself. Number three, another mistake people are making, and it's not necessarily wrong, but I'll explain to you why it's a mistake. They're doing their test on the 5-day mark, the 120-hour mark. They're basically counting backwards from their flight date, 120 hours, and they're doing their test specifically at that time. The reason why I said this is a mistake is, given changes in airline flight schedules, some airlines are adjusting their time of travel. If your airline changes their flight's departure time for a couple of hours or for a day, and your COVID test is not within 120 hours, you will be rejected boarding. The airline will not pay for your new COVID test, right? So it's important that you try and do the COVID test as close, right, to the point of departure as you can. So for example, in the UK here, I know that a lot of private labs are returning results within 24 to 36 hours, which means you can pretty much do your test 3 days before, right? Which is gives you a leeway in case your airline changes their flight schedule. Number 4, another big mistake I've seen people making with regard to traveling to Nigeria. Actually, this one is about traveling out of Nigeria. I don't know who has been sharing this information that everybody has to do a COVID test when they leave Nigeria. You do not. You only have to do a COVID test if, one, the airline that you're traveling requires it, or the destination that you're going to requires it, right? So you need to speak to your airline to confirm that, okay, based on my route, so maybe I'm transiting somewhere before going somewhere, do I need to do a COVID test, right? I'll clear this up now. So I'll clear this up because one of the major questions I've been getting has to do with traveling to the UK. Do you need to do a COVID test, right? Right now, I believe the government has instituted some rules whereby you can do a COVID test, and if you do a COVID test, your self-isolation rules for 14 days is reduced to, I believe, 5 or 7 days. I'll write the number of days there. But also, it's not compulsory to do a COVID test. You can come into the country as long as you agree to isolate for the full period of 14 days. It's not compulsory, so it's not necessary. It's only a few days ago that they instituted this rule whereby they reduce your self-isolation period if you do a COVID test prior. Number 5, this mistake has to do with individuals not checking for their flight updates, not double checking that their flight is leaving at a certain time. The pandemic has meant that a lot of airlines have been changing their schedules a lot, right? Which means that many people are receiving messages, like multiple messages saying your flight has been changed here, there. Like if you're one of those people, like leave a comment and share which airlines that you're flying with and how they've been changing flights. Like it would be great to know, but many people have been complaining about it. And one particular person on our community page shared this with us a day or so ago. He said, after going through all the stress of a COVID testing and filing all necessary prerequisites form traveling to Nigeria today, the 2nd of December 2020, I cannot believe that I missed my flight. Because of COVID and the incessant change in flight dates by the airline company, you guys should pay attention to the date and times of your flight. I was sure that my flight was at 3:30 in the evening, only to be contacted by the booking agency that I was not on the flight. I had to pay £770 for a one-way ticket to Nigeria from Scotland, compliments of the season. I do not want that situation to be you. You know, times are tough enough that, you know, let's avoid having to spend money. So guys, that is the end of my video. If you have any other questions that you have, feel free to ask them in the comment section. Don't forget you can go to the Facebook community page to ask questions on there. Don't forget to buy my book. Yes, I'm plugging it in there. My book, Lagos Travel Guide. All the information's on where you can buy local stockists to Nigeria, also ebook readers you can buy directly from. I'm gonna link it all in the description box below. Thank you again once for your support. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.